for our FTP. Thank you. Thank you, Bala sir. You can start the session, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Very good evening to one all present here. So today we are going to see the content part. Yesterday we have seen the strategy part. So today we are going to see the content part. Okay, hope everybody is seeing my PPT, right? Syllabus will come back on the last day, not now. We'll get into the content. Okay, the first slide we have discussed yesterday. Second slide, characteristics of teaching. The matter of drawing out, you should draw out the interest of the students. Matter of adjustment, what is that? There are three different types of students. Who are they? Any idea? Three different sets of students. Any idea about it? We can classify students into three types. Okay, type 1. Slow learner, very good. Medium learner and fast learner. But classifying this is a sin. But to make effective education, there is no other way. We need to classify it. Okay. Causing to learn. As a teacher, you should be causing to learn. When the students don't like you, if that is the case, they will not like your syllabus. What is expected out of a teacher from student's angle? Anybody else can answer this? What is expected out of a teacher from a student angle? Okay, think about it. I'll move on to the next one. Training of education, preparation for life. This is what I told you. There is a difference between a teacher and the guru. The teacher is a person who typically completes the syllabus and takes rest. But guru is a person who is having constant touch with the students, and make them the better citizens of the nation. Counseling them, giving them some support in their life. Everything happens with a guru, but not a teacher, right? Okay. Then teaching is a professional activity. Why it is called a professional activity? Because some jobs are called professional jobs, remaining jobs are called non-professional. Like doctor, auditors, lawyers, teachers are also professionals. See, the professional is a person who is formally educated, can be employed somewhere, or can be self-employed. Both the angles are there. Okay. Then giving guidance, that we have seen already. Mentoring students, that is giving guidance. Basic requirements of teaching, there are three variables: teacher, student, and environment. Professionalism, the environment must be free from any thing which affects the student's learning. So establishing teacher-student relationship, that is must. I don't say you should be a friend of teacher. Rather, you establish a parental relationship with the student. So you should make them aware that you are having a parental ego. So we divide ego like this, right? Adult ego, parent ego, like that. So you make them to understand you are there for them. So that is the difference between the particular faculty liked by majority of the student, and the particular faculty are hated by a set of students. The students' discipline, different colleges having different norms. Let's leave that. Devotion to teaching and learning. What is that? Devotion to teaching and learning. Devotion to teaching and learning. Any idea what is this? What is called devotion here? I need to go to temple before going to college. Is that so? What is devotion towards teaching and learning? Dedicated, very good. Exactly, dedicated one. Okay, what is dedication? I explain in other terms. Tomorrow there is a university examination, right? So at 9 o'clock in the night, the student is sending a message to your WhatsApp and is asking a doubt. You should take some time to explain. That is called dedication to your profession. I don't say somebody calls you at 12 o'clock and you need to explain. I don't say that. But up to 10 o'clock, we can have a sort of work-life balance where you can attend work sometimes. I know faculties who never touch the mobile when they reach home. I mean, who never attend any official calls, but they're having a different number for personal activities, they will be active in mobile. So this is called a non-dedication type of mentality. See, you are not working for the boss. Try to understand that you are working for the community of people. Okay, so academic, social, emotional, cognitive characteristics of learners. As per this syllabus, learners are divided into adults and adolescents. Got it? Okay, who are all adults? 18 plus. Adolescents, teenage people, 13 to 18. Okay, so adult learners and adolescent learners, what are all the differences? That's what we need to talk. See, adolescents are having good grasping capacity, memory capacity. They are having varied interest in multiple subjects at a time. They are having this jealousy spirit, but they are not goal oriented. You need to be more careful when you are handling teenage students or UG students, because a single word may make them to do anything, because they're all driven by hormones. Try to understand that. We should not expect the maturity level of ourselves with the student, because we are all crossed the student life and we are all teachers, correct? So this is about adolescent, and look about adult. Adult learner are self-directed, self-motivated, and goal-oriented. But their learning speed, grasping speed, comparatively lesser than the adolescent. They don't have jealousy feeling, but they have this. Competitive spirit, because they study for their advancement in career or to getting into good career. These are differences. Individual differences you have to take into account. What is individual differences? It refers to, let's say, every student is a different island in terms of characteristics, features, etc. So, for example, the slow learner, medium learner, fast learner, accordingly, you increase and decrease your phase of teaching. For example, majority of your students are coming from village. Let us assume that majority of your students are coming from village. Let us assume that they are from vernacular medium background in their schooling. So they are not exposed towards a type of English medium schools or convents. So as a teacher, you should start teaching Tamil or in the particular vernacular language, so that the subject matter reaches the student. This is what we call about individual differences. And assume that there are 10 North Indians in the class. Okay, remaining people are South Indians. Let us assume that. If there are 10 North Indians in the class, either you should talk Hindi or Tamil or English, whichever is apt for the particular set of students. This is what we talk about individual differences. Okay, factors affecting teaching and learning: teacher, learner, support material, instructional facilities, learning environment, and institutional support. There are two types of syllabus: teacher-centric and learner-centric teaching and learning activity. So teacher-centric is lecture method, assignment, seminar, conferences. Here the teacher decides what has to be delivered in the classroom, how knowledge transfer happens. Okay. The other case, the learner decides what he is going to do. Discussion, individual presentation, brainstorming, role play, case study, simulation game, practical, projects, presentation, essay, mind mapping, online courses, etc. Okay. So nowadays it is the demand on the teachers to be a student centric. Hope all of you are taking online classes, right? What is this? You become student centric because student cannot come to college and you can't go, right? The student centric, that's what learner centric. Online and offline teaching. Offline teaching refers to without using computer and internet. Online teaching, computer and internet. So right now what you are exploring is a type of online teaching. Types of evaluation: diagnostic, placement, formative, summative, computer-based testing. Okay, what is diagnostic evaluation? The diagnostic evaluation helps you to understand strength and weakness of a particular student in a particular subject. That is diagnostic evaluation. Placement evaluation is a type of entrance test. NET exam, NEET exam. Got it? IIT, JEE, all those things, to check whether the candidate is fit for the course or not. Or any exam like UPSC, TNPSC, banking examination, all those things comes under placement evaluation. Formative evaluation, your central internal assessment, number one, model exam, all those things are formative, happens during the course. Okay. Summative examination is a university examination, but the purpose is for final grading. Clear? Okay. And next one, computer-based testing. Computer-based testing. Innovation in evaluation systems. So 360-degree evaluation, peer-to-peer evaluation, online evaluation, evaluation having negative marking. All those things you could have seen, right? Okay, so far whatever we have seen comes under a teaching aptitude. Any doubt or discussion on that? Teaching aptitude we have completed.
Sir, can you explain the diagnostic again? Diagnostic type of question.
Diagnostic talks about strength and weakness of the student.
Example, sir. Example.
Example, for example, which department you belong to?
Computer science.
Computer science. When a student comes towards you and asks admission for a coding course, what do you check now? Since he has completed the schooling and schooling computer science is eligible for the course. But what do? You conduct a small mathematical series test to understand whether the student is mathematically strong. Because for coding, mathematical is very important, correct? Mathematical skills are very important for coding. If the person is strong in the particular skill, then you can take him into the course. If he is weak, you can refer him to some other course where he can learn something better. Don't confuse the same with the placement test. Placement test is purely for placing somebody in somewhere. Placing a student in the course or placing an employee in the office, etc. For example, aptitude test is a type of placement test. Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, very important area. We could spend some more time here because it is mandatory for academician to be a researcher, but I don't know why. Let it be. What is your idea about research? Don't look at the definition here. What is the idea about research? What is your idea about research? What do you mean by research? Come on, quick.
Analyzing the previous research and finding out a new conclusion.
Okay, conceptual oriented. Fine. Anybody else? Searching again. Very good.
Analyzing the researches and getting into a conclusion.
Analytical research.
Previous researches. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So you mean that review of literature? From review of literature, you find out the problem. Correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Exploratory model. Okay. Searching for new knowledge. Great. Finding facts, ideas, innovation, plus such research. Okay. Good. Very good. Okay. So let us look at the chart now. It is the art of scientific investigation. Why it is called scientific investigation? Whether you do research or I do research, the result will be the same. It is not different, right? But if your variable, if your samples are different, then result will be different. That is okay. It is a systematic design, collection, analysis, and reporting the findings and solutions. So in the next slide, we will see why it is called a systematic. So you know it's a type of collecting data, analyzing the data. Data may be primary or secondary, whatsoever, and reporting the findings for making marketing problem the company. So in case if you are from computer science or education department, change it as computer science problem or education problem of the organization. So types of research: exploratory, when the research problem is unknown. When the research problem is unknown, you want to find what is the problem. That is exploratory. Okay. Then descriptive, shows the characteristics of set of people, individuals as it is. Shows the characteristics of set of people or individuals as it is. Qualitative research, where you don't involve any numbers in your research. For example, you would like to study about tribal people. Would you like to include numbers here? Their lifestyle, their hobbies, their profession you want to study. If that is the case, would you use any mathematical thing in that? No, you cannot, because there your data collection goes by observation and video recording or audio taping. So you don't use a questionnaire. Since you don't use a questionnaire and interview technique, getting numbers is not possible. Whenever you don't get numbers, that is called the qualitative research. Quantitative research, collection of data, comparing numbers, coming to conclusion after interpretation. Ex post facto research. So something has happened, after that inquiry starts. Accident happened, after that inquiry starts. Clinical laboratory research, though you know very well, your blood test, VCG, all those things are called clinical research. One-time research, the research is valid for only one time, you cannot continue it. That means nobody can use your research results as review of literature. Yes or no? So that is one-time research. Example, demonetization topic. Demonetization in India. That is a type of one-time topic. So now you cannot take it again after, let us say 5-6 years are over. Now you cannot take the topic for your research. The same topic. Longitudinal research. Okay, I answered you what is one-time research. Now you tell me what is longitudinal research. Any idea about it? Differs from time to time? No. Continuous process? Yes, very good. Okay. So what is the example? See, always go with example. Yes, same topic continues in terms of advancement of research. An example, 1G connection, 2G connection, 3G connection, 4G connection, 5G, correct? It's a type of longitudinal research. Medicine, astronomy, all right. Then, applied research. Okay, applied research aim to solve the problem faced by the society. That is finding medicine for COVID. That is applied research. Action research, giving the medicine to the patients, or giving the medicine as vaccination to the public. That is called action research. So applied research will find only the solution. Action research makes it to action. So action research is a field research. Empirical research, wherever we're inserting proof, it is called empirical research. Okay. Causal research, so cause and effect, that you know very well. Basic research. Basic research usually you do for understanding something. For example, you would like to understand Siddha medicines, for example. So you study the old scriptures of Siddha medicine and you practice it. Or you are suggesting to somebody, or you are using for your own. This is a type of basic research. It is otherwise called pure, fundamental, or basic research. All the three are one and the same. Historical research. Based on the history, you are predicting the future. Your share market charts. Okay, types of research, very important area. Positivism refers to an evidence-based reality that can be mathematically interpreted. However, scientists have come to the realization that all observation, including objective reality, is fallible, which leads to the post-positivist paradigm. So positivism it's a type of paradigm or idea where when you say a research, it must be mathematically interpreted. Only that is accepted as research. But other scientists are having a different idea. All observations, objective reality is also fallible under research. You cannot say only mathematically interpreted. Something which are not mathematically interpreted, that is also called research. For example, you are experiencing an earthquake. You are experiencing an earthquake, and some researcher the next day comes to your home and they are asking you to fill a questionnaire, or they are asking you to tell about your experience. Would you say numbers 50% I felt the earthquake? You will not say that, correct? Will you say it? Won't you, right? So these type of things coming under non-mathematical interpretation part, that is called post-positivist paradigm. Now there are some doubts posted. Let us see. So empirical research using empirical evidence. Note it down. Professor Ajay Madonna. It is also a way of gaining knowledge by means of direct and indirect observation or experience. Very good. Empirical has proof for the research done. Okay. So first four types of data. Somebody asked the first four types of data. Okay. So exploratory research. Sudha ma'am, it's for you. Exploratory research, when the research problem is not clear, you are doing it to know what is research problem, right? Descriptive research, to understand. Descriptive research is to understand the characteristics of individuals or group of people. Okay. Qualitative research, the tribal people lifestyle example I told you, that is qualitative research. Next one is quantitative research, where you are using numbers and comparing, usually the questionnaire methodology. Okay, can somebody tell me what is the first step in research? What is the first step in research? Identifying the problem. Very good. Okay, where to identify the problem? Selecting or
Define
identifying
the
the problem.
collect the data.
Yeah. Where to identify the problem? Any idea about it? First identification, then define or formulating the problem could be perfect. But where to identify the problem? Social science research, okay, but where to identify the problem? From
literature review, sir.
Yeah. How to do literature review? Any idea? How to do literature review? You got a research article, how to go about? The best way to understand what author is saying is to read the entire article by spending your time. But most of the time, we people, what we do is we just copy the abstract and we get some understanding out of that, and we move from review of literature. It is entirely killing the process of research. So you don't understand anything in depth, but you are able to manage. So it is better to read. So from where to get the reviews? So number one, you can go for somebody else's thesis, read their conclusion and scope for further research. That's number one. Number two, many open access journals are available, right? You can download and read as per the interest of your research. Explore libraries. Sometimes newspaper may be the source of data. Sometimes televisions. So whatsoever it comes into your way, you can take into account. Okay. So steps of research. Number one, formulating research problem, then literature survey. Okay. So the purpose of doing literature survey is to understand the research gap and whether some answers are available for your research or not. For example, you would like to find a medicine for fever. If you are a doctor, for example, assume that you are a doctor and you would like to find the medicine for fever. Okay, in the review of literature, if you look at, there are already many scientists who have suggested paracetamol and other tablets. Right? If this is the case, how to proceed your research? Because you are also going to produce the same paracetamol. Am I right? How to proceed now? Because majority of research in social science has the result already. So how to go about that? Your ideas should be different. For example, if you take paracetamol, it takes around, let us say, 3 to 4 hours, okay, to work out its job. And you need to specify there is a research gap. The tablet which I am going to find from the pilot study, I found that the tablet I am going to find will work within 30 minutes. If this is the case, you can proceed your research. Otherwise, if you are going to find the same paracetamol by telling a different name, you stop the research. Engineering, medicine, those fields are very green when you want to find something new. Got it? So this is what called review of literature. This is the purpose. If you know there is an answer already, you should not proceed the topic, you should change it. If there is no answer, and if your answers are different, you can proceed. Okay. Then formation of objectives based on research gap. Developing hypothesis is not required in all the cases, but if you want to test the relationship or association of variables, you can go for developing the hypothesis. Preparing the research design. Okay, what is research design or research methodology? Any idea? Research design or research methodology. I want to know the contents of that. So any research design is a blueprint of your research. Very good, Manju Priya ma'am. It's a blueprint of the research or framework of the research. Very good, ma'am. My question, content of the research design. When somebody asks you to tell about your research design, what could be your reply? Come on, quick. Content of research design.
My abstract idea, sir. Abstract idea.
No, that goes with chapter 1.
Okay.
Variables included in the study. Yes, I agree. But before that, note it down if you want. So this is for social science research. Maybe for technical people, it may slightly vary. Note it down. Type of research, population, sample, sampling method, number of samples, sampling area, sampling error, variables taken, time, and the cost of the research, methods of data collection and statistical tools used. That's all. So if you're able to explain this to somebody, it would be awesome. So you know the heart of your research. So you can explain it with an art. Okay. So this is the major part in the research design. Determining sample design. Determining sample design. Okay, that is inside research design. Collection of data. What are all the classification of data? Primary data, secondary data, you know it very well. Execution of project. Finally, you need to execute the project. That is analysis of data. If you fix a hypothesis, then test the hypothesis. Generalization and interpretation, then preparation of report. So coming to writing, this slide I would like to discuss for a couple of minutes. Majority of you might have gone to other college as a MPhil examiner or PG project examiner, yes or no? Many of you went to other colleges as a PG project examiner or MPhil examiner. Or sometime you could have seen examiners from other colleges would also have visited your college. So, how the professor within, let us say, 5 to 10 minutes, he judges entire 100 pages. And he says the project is worthy, and he says it is not a genuine project. How does he say that? Any idea? There is a methodology to check your thesis, check your research paper. If you are in the recommendation panel of a journal, then you are going to do it. Or once you complete your PhD, if you are an examiner, you take time to examine the thesis. and you make some recommendation, or you say this is fit for research. Excellent. Why you are recommended? Something like that. So how do you identify the genuineness of the thesis? Outcome of result based on the topic. See, these are all one side. What is other side? Conclusion. No, let me explain. Look at here. If you are having very short of time, how to do that? Read the research problem. Okay. Come back to this suggestions part or generalization part. This should be a question and this should be an answer. Clear? The research problem or research objective part should be like a question. And generalization part should be an answer. For example, research problem is to find out medicine for fever. In the interpretation and generalization part, he could have talked about the fever. Instead of that, the researcher is talking about some other diseases. Then probably it should be a fake. Or take a question from questionnaire and see whether data analysis is done for that. If there is a data analysis, and see whether there is any findings. If there is any findings, and see whether there is any link with the suggestion. This is why we say it is a systematic design, correct? This word systematic design or scientific activity. Got it? How to evaluate any thesis. This you can even do if you want to review any paper. But when you are having short of time, you can do. If you are having plenty of time, you can get into that and see what is there inside. And if you want to grasp the quick review of literature, you can do this. Is it clear? Okay, different styles of writing references. Harvard style of referencing, Vancouver, MLA citation, American Psychological Association. This is what we call as APA. Chicago Manual of Style, Royal Society of Chemistry style. But out of these, MLA format and APA format are highly important. Thesis and article writing, literature review, proposed solution for methodology, solution validation, analysis of data, results and discussion, conclusions and recommendations, bibliography, references, appendices. This is the format of a thesis or article. So from the introduction part, you go and search for a problem and objective, right? Then come to the recommendation and see that matches. That's all. Application of ICT in research. What are all the application of ICT in research? So nowadays, without computer and internet, you cannot do the research first. If you are a researcher, you should have an internet connection in the laptop. That's the base requirement, right? So you are using MS Word to type the research project, formatting it. You are using a printer to print your thesis. And you are using SPSS to analyze the data. Google Scholar databases, SPSS true. And you are using your plagiarism software. What is the name? Plagiarism software. What is the name of the software? Turnitin. The earlier version is Urkund. Okay, very good. So at every stage of research, you depend on ICT. And for publications, what you do? Earlier days, people used to send it through post. Now you are sending email. Again, ICT application. Grammar check, rephrasing a sentence, collecting reviews, exploring the research problem. For everything, you need ICT. Okay, research ethics. Research ethics. Research should be honest one. No biasness. Can somebody type here features of research? Honesty, biasness, that is unbiased results or research. Non-discrimination in the research environment. Society oriented. Yes, you should give some contribution towards the society as a researcher. It should be a fact. Very good. Consistency of the researcher. Research should be free from plagiarism. All those things you can take into account, right? Okay, some of the unethical behavior. What are the unethical behavior? Over signifying the research result to get the grant, exploiting students in the research environment, using animals and humans in the research without any permission, violating the research protocol, manipulation of data, sabotaging others' data. Thank you, Dhanabaki ma'am. Sabotaging others' data. Giving a same research topic to two different students to see who does faster. This usually happens with PG projects. And even I suggest, if you are going to give project for UG students, give them a different topic, teach them how to do a project. At least they do percentage analysis. So later on you can use the same project and make it as a paper and make the student as co-author. That's the credit you are going to give. So this is the best part you can see. Any UG or PG project can be converted into a research paper by the faculty. The student cannot do it, I agree. Okay. Then sending the same article to two journals. Is that correct? Sending the same research article to two different journals. Is that correct? Okay, Professor Sharanya said yes, no, okay. Okay, getting permission from Human Ethical Committee for proceeding the research. You should not send the same article to the two different journals. Usually in the hurry-burry of completing PhD, usually people do it. And both are paid journals. That is the majority of case. So what happens? Both of the guys publish it. And finally, you are termed as an unethical researcher. So what you can do is, if you are submitting to two different journals, you should intimate the editors by writing an email. I have given this to other, let us say you are writing, you are giving to ABC and BCD, two different journals. Then you need to write to both the editors stating that I have given the same article to other journal also. So if you are publishing it before them, you should inform them. This is enough. So all the editors will be having in touch because they are the same business like us. We are all teachers having touch. Editors also having some touch. Okay. So this is all about ethics in research. And in the research project, where the ethics can be doubted, the research project, where the ethics can be doubted, which part? Any idea? Actually, after data manipulation, there is something called the finding. Finding you can doubt, and if finding is not there in the option, you can doubt. What to say? The research problem and the findings. Both the places you can find ethical issues. The way it is presented, that shows the confidence of the researcher, where their ethical and unethical doesn't play. If somebody is fear on talking on stages, so they may have nervousness or voice crumbling at the time, so that we cannot say the way it is presented. Anyway, research ends here. Okay, reading comprehension. Always read the question first and the paragraph. Okay. Words per minute. Identify number of words you read and understand per minute. Identify number of words you can read and understand in a minute. That is word per minute. Okay. How to know that? Usually it ranges from 40 to 100. How to know that? Take any passage, read it for 10 minutes. Take any passage, read it for 10 minutes. Stop there. Stop there and start counting the number of words you read and understand in 10 minutes. That is your reading speed per minute at present. For example, if you are coming from a mother tongue medium background in education, you may be finding difficulty in proceeding with this unit, but with practice you can rock. Okay, don't worry about that. With practice you can rock. So if your reading speed is below 40 or below 50, then you should practice these two techniques. One is mirror reading. So all of you are having Android mobile, right? There is an application called the mirror application. Download the mirror application. Take the photograph of anything. Use the mirror option there. So left to right, whatever there in the screen will become right to left. Try to read from right to left. One exercise. Another exercise, upside down reading. Keeping a book upside down and start reading. Keeping a book upside down and start reading. So usually we read from top to bottom, right? Here we are going to read from bottom to top. So what happens when you are reading like this, your brain is exposed to difficult reading habits. But when it becomes normal reading, left to right, top to bottom, your brain speed accelerated. Okay. There are usually 4 questions directly from passage and 1 question will be a difficult one. So that question is, note down the question to avoid, note down, no need to avoid, don't spend time for this question. At last, if you are getting time, you can come back. Mindset of the author. Assumptions of the author or assumption of passage. Topic of the passage. These questions you try to avoid. Because to answer the question, you should read the entire passage. Okay. The logic, the strategy is read the question first. Always question to paragraph approach. The schooling method is absolutely wrong, which says paragraph to question. Your teacher could have told you in school, read the paragraph twice, then go to the questions. We don't have time, I'm sorry. Here you should read the question first, then come to the passage. What happens when you read the question first? There is something called selective reading happens. So you start searching answer for the particular question. So you can get the answer quickly. It saves your time a lot, right? So reading comprehension, very important unit. You can easily gain marks. There is no much efforts, but practice if your speed is slow. Okay, communication. What do you mean by communication? What is communication? Sharing thoughts, exchanging ideas, transfer of information. Okay, very good. Communication is the process by which 2 or more people exchange ideas, facts, feelings, or impressions in ways that each gains some common understanding. So when you are communicating something, there should be a common understanding between The sender and receiver, that is you and the other guy, there should be a common understanding, intent, and the use of messages. Good. So do you think only human being communicates? Do you think only human being communicates? Okay, then what are all the living beings or non-living beings communicate? Any idea? Brain drain, why you are telling here, sir? Brain drain is somebody who's studying in India using Indian funds and going to foreign, that is brain drain. But we are talking about communication. I am not able to connect your idea. All animals and plants will communicate, definitely. Binary codes you are using to communicate with the computer. Yes, Professor Priyanka, that is right. Any idea non-living beings communicate something? Non-living beings also communicate. Any idea about that? Stones. What does the communication gives? Very good. Professor Sweta Menon, very good. What is the communication gives stone? Sound. Yes. You drop an object. When it reaches the earth, there is a sound. There is a communication. Music. Gestures. Vibrations. Yes, very good, Professor Bhargavi. Vibrations. When you be with somebody, there is a positive vibration. Yes. Stones communicate. You can know what is the age of the stone. Okay. Even vegetable communicate when they die. They get shrinking, the color is changed, something like that. The smell is different. So it gives some communication. Okay. Several elements of communication process: sender, ideas, encoding, communication, receiver, decoding, feedback. You know very well, sender is a person who sends the message, correct? Receiver is the person who receives the message, correct? Ideas are the first point. Some author advocates ideas are the first stage of communication. Sender is the second. Some other author says sender is the person who conceives ideas, so sender first. Okay, let it be. Encoding. Encoding refers to the framing of message in such a way the receiver will understand. Encoding refers to framing of a message in such a way the receiver will understand. Always encoding differs from one receiver to another receiver. For example, it is heavily raining outside. You are communicating with the child at your home. What will you communicate? How will you communicate? You need to go down to their level. You need to sit and talk first. They will not listen otherwise. You need to sit and talk with the child. Okay, go down to the level, look at their eyes and say, my dear, it is heavily raining outside. Don't go out. You may get cold. Okay, then doctor will have injection for you. This is the communication meant for the child. Okay, some 80-year-old grandpa is at home. We are going to communicate the same message. How do you communicate? Grandpa, don't go outside. You may slip. It is raining heavily. So stay back at home. The same message you are communicating with your friend. How do you communicate? Achha, it is raining heavily. You'll go out and have a hot bhaji and a hot tea. Got the difference? Encoding based on the receiver. Communication channels that we will see, classification of communications that we will see separately. Decoding, that is understanding the message. Encoding is framing the message in such a way the receiver will understand. Recoding refers to understanding the message. Last stage is feedback, is acting according to your message. You are asking him to sit. The decoding, he understands and he sits. That is the feedback. Or sometimes you are asking him a question, he replies back. Got it? So we'll stop here. Any doubts or feedback about the session? How was the session? Thank you, Revati ma'am. Thank you, Hamid sir. Thank you, Professor Maheshwari, Professor Saranya, Professor Purnima, and Professor Sudha. Okay, some of the people are having this feel online classes won't be interactive. It is much more interactive than offline classes. Because here your identity is closed, so you can ask any doubt you want. Okay, thank you, Priyanka ma'am. Thank you, Dhanabhagya ma'am. Thank you, Kannan sir. Thank you, Professor Arvind. Yes, my explanation is always simple, sir. It's always in a layman language. Professor Valen, thank you. Dr. Priya, thank you. Fine. So, thank you all for attending. Good day. We will meet tomorrow. Janaki Raman, sir, I hand over the session to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Kindly fill the feedback form.
Yes, Janiraman sir. Manjupriya ma'am, you can inform the instructions. Manjupriya madam.
Hello. JJ sir.
Hello.
JJ sir, instruction சொல்லிட்டீங்களா? Have you informed sir or shall I proceed sir?
Yeah, proceed, ma'am. Most of them are leaved.
Okay, okay.
Hello.
Rest of the part, yes. Rest of the participants kindly note the instructions. Daily our FTP program will be by sharply starts by 6 o'clock. So do join our program on time. And at the end of the session, we will be posting the feedback link on the chat box. Do fill the feedback link for the certificate purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.